Welcome to online stretch and mobility yoga. Like I said, if you got a couple blocks and strap handy, that would be very beneficial in today's class. So we're going to start on our backs, actually. So switch around and let's bend our knees. Really just make yourself comfortable. Shift your hips and shoulders underneath you as much as you need to, and just kind of find a comfortable spot for your feet and knees. That might be them just upright. They might fall together. You can bring the bottoms of your feet together. Let knees fall out wide. And just get yourself into a spot where we can take like a couple minutes here at the beginning to find our breath. So let's place one hand on our heart, one hand on our belly. And we do that in order to just bring this awareness to our torso. Notice if our inhales are stopping at our chest or if our belly inflates kind of naturally with each breath. Because our breath during these stretch classes, I always think that they're even more important than our regular yoga classes. And easier to kind of come back to sometimes, so that we can weave together this sense of mindfulness with our breath, with some relaxation and ease into some stretches. So coming back to things we've talked about in the past, like the degree in which we stretch. When we are in this stretch class, I want you to always explore what that 100% stretch feels like in your body, where you might not be able to take it any further, and then back out of it just enough so that you're about 80% into that stretch. And when you back out of it a little bit, noticing your breath, noticing tension throughout your entire body, whether that's tension you hold in your jaw or your shoulders or hips. Being particularly mindful of that during this class. Allowing that breath to bring ease and allowing it to increase that flexibility. So I want you to take a moment and switch which hand is on your heart and on your belly. Maybe starting to deepen that breath. Let belly inflate even more. And as you do that, trying to extend your exhales so that they're longer than the inhale. Some people like to count in their minds in order to achieve this. Other times it's just a sensation, not being attached to any number. These slow, mindful breaths where our exhale is extended longer than our inhale is a great thing to come back to, not just on our mats throughout this practice, but throughout the rest of your week, as a way to bring focus into what you're doing if you feel scattered or kind of nervous or anxious about anything. Great breath to come to, great tool to have in your toolbox. All right, bring both hands to your belly now. And under the weight of your hands, I want you to just envision this softening in your belly. Kind of this untangling and easing of stress. And we're going to pull our knees towards our chest, interlace fingers around your knees. Maybe rock right to left a little bit, noticing your hips. Let's wrap fingers around that right knee and then extend the left leg long. Pull your right knee out towards your armpit, even out towards the edge of your mat. Try to leave that head and shoulders down. And then roll that ankle in circles on the right foot. Go both directions and just kind of observing any crinkling or popping. Then let's just point and flex that foot. Then you're going to interlace fingers around the back of that thigh. Bring leg to about 90 degrees. Just start to extend that leg straight up towards the sky. And point and flex that foot. Maybe make some circles overhead. And go back to pointing and flexing. And I want you pulling on that hamstring enough so that you feel a sensation, this lengthening. Bring that knee back to being bent and then down to the floor. We're gonna pull left knee into our chest and extend that right leg long. Again, pull that left knee out towards your armpit or towards the outside edge of your mat, just so that we're avoiding that rib cage. Again, circles with your ankle in one direction. And then circles the opposite direction. It's a great time to kind of check in with your shoulders and jaw. Make sure that you're releasing tension there. And start to point and flex that foot. Then wrapping fingers underneath that thigh, bringing leg extended up overhead. And point and flex. Make circles both directions. And then come back to that point and flex, maybe pulling that leg a little closer to you. And let's bring both knees into our chest. This time draw nose up to knees. Really round through that spine. And then take a full body stretch. So limbs extend opposite directions. And let's find those yoga straps. All right, so you have a couple options and it's gonna be kind of your choice. You can use just the straight strap and wrap it around the bottom of that foot so that you have both ends of the strap in your hands. If you'd rather make a loop with your strap, kind of gives you extra length. So if you have long limbs, sometimes it's beneficial to kind of make that little loop that's gonna go around your foot so that you're not held back by the length of the strap or the shortness. And really, you just need this little circle. I have flashbacks to like my elementary school days of wearing a rainbow belt that had this connection. All right, so we're gonna loop that around our right foot. And you can bend your left knee or you can leave that leg straight on the mat. And I want you to just pull that right leg. So right leg is straight and pull toes on that right foot towards you. Check in to see where that 100% stretch is. It's probably like when you start gripping your teeth. Take it to there and then just back out of it slightly. Let's find some softness and find our breath. And then see if you can also relax your shoulders. So they're just lying flat on the mat. That's why that length of the strap is really good. So you're using your bicep and your grip strength on that strap. See if you can place left hand on your belly here to really be aware and trying to soften the belly. Can you get those inhales and exhales to inflate and deflate underneath that hand? Again, if tension arises anywhere in your body, just trying to find that release. And continuing to pull that leg up overhead, I want you to drop it out towards the right side and go really slow. So that leg does not have to go all the way down to the floor by any means. You're going to keep pulling that arm or that hand towards you. If your hand starts to get tired, this is why it's good just to be using one hand here, because you can give that right hand a break and grab the strap with your left hand and kind of alternate back and forth. But also a great way to improve our grip strength here. Notice in that right hip and glute if you're kind of clenching and holding on, trying to resist this hip opening up to the side. Then we're going to bring that leg up and take a half happy baby. So really bending that knee. And if you want to grab that yogi toe lock or the inside of that arch for half happy baby, just to release that strap for a moment, you can. Or if that strap helps you to achieve happy baby, feel free to keep using that strap. All right, let's bring that leg back straight overhead. Grab your strap if you let it go. And then you're going to put strap into your left hand. Let that leg fall across over to the left side. So what I want you to be mindful of is that right hip and how much it's lifting up off the mat. There's really no right or wrong, but I want you to explore what it feels like to keep that hip heavy on the ground to start. And your mobility is going to be different for sure. That stretch is going to feel different. So we're going to hold this for about 1.5 minutes. So you have plenty of time to kind of explore this stretch. Start with that hip on the ground, and then kind of as you find some release, you can start to lift and then twist. Notice though that stretch is actually being taken into your low back rather than the outside of that hip and IT band area. So whatever feels best for you is going to be just fine. And continue to breathe and find that softness in your belly, softness in your jaw. Find those 100% spots in your leg and hip. Try to create some softness there, and even play with pointing and flexing your foot. We're making circles as you're here to see how that changes things. And making another adjustment in your body. Maybe push through the heel of your foot to extend that leg longer. See what that does. And draw those toes back towards you. All right, we're going to bring that leg back up overhead and then into happy baby. All right, from here, I want you to hug that right knee into your chest and interlace your fingers. So we're gonna slide this left foot underneath and try to get our foot over to the right side. So we've done this stretch before in our class where we grab that left foot with our right hand and slide that knee down towards the mat. And then we're actually gonna take this right leg and extend it straight up overhead. So feel free, I'll walk that through again for you guys online. Just kind of showing you what that's like here. So if it's too much to have that leg extended, feel free to keep it bent. We're working on finding a stretch through that left leg actually, and getting that left knee down to the mat. I'm gonna turn so that they could see online. So I'm taking my left leg here. I'm gonna tuck it over and grab it with my right hand. Bring that left knee down. And then right knee can be bent into your chest or it can extend up overhead. And that I have this strap that's around that right foot in my left hand. So the number one focus I want you having is pushing that left knee down to touch your mat. And if you look down at that knee, it's going to be straight underneath your nose rather than poking out past that left hip. And then you can even open up that right leg out to the side towards the right to deepen this stretch even more. So it's super pretzel-y. Let's take another couple breaths here. Find some softness somewhere where you're clenching or holding on. And let's release that. Strap is going to come off of that right foot. Let's just take our bottoms of our feet together, lay that strap down on the left side and let knees fall out to the side. Maybe both hands on your belly. And then let's switch to that left side. So strap goes around left foot. And right leg can be straight or extended. And start to pull into that hamstring. So bringing foot up overhead. Turn here. Again, try to get the jaw to relax and shoulders heavy on the mat. You can point and flex those toes or just draw toes towards you. Find that 100%. It's probably like your leg might even shake there and then back out of it just slightly. All right, now we're going to take that foot out to the left side. Again, it's your call when your left hand needs that break from your strap. And once you're there, again, checking in with that glute. Our hip wants to resist this opening often, so finding some softness, and that leg goes almost down to the earth. Let's pick it up and then try to pull the leg up overhead any bit more. And if you want to put a hand on your belly to make sure that you're being mindful about that breath here during the practice. All right, let's pull that leg into a happy baby. And aided by that strap, or just use your hand to reach for the inside arch of that foot. Notice maybe your temples on your head. Can you find a little bit more ease there? All right, let's extend that leg straight up overhead. Strap goes into the right hand. And flatten the bottom of that foot by pulling toes towards you and getting into that deep hamstring stretch again. And then keep that hamstring stretch as that left hip weights down. Pull that leg across your body towards the right. There you go. One of the most important things we can kind of teach ourselves is to just scan that body. Looking for areas that your body's holding on to, creating tension. And what can you do with that foot? Point and flex or make circles. Maybe reach through that heel, just help straighten leg if the knee wants to bend and kind of give out a little. Really deepen this and just let your body relax into this stretch. Even though it's a deep stretch in our bodies, trying to get our body to find a spot where it feels easier. Even checking in with that right leg and noticing if it's trying to help out. All right, let's bring that leg back up overhead. So again, bring a slight knee bend to that left leg and then reach that right foot underneath you. And you're going to reach down with left hand, try to grab that right foot. Really peek down at that right knee. See if it's just in line with your shoulders and that center of your body. Pushing it down there, and kind of as you find that stretch, you can keep left knee bent or extend legs straight up overhead. Even looking to drop that leg back off to the left side. Another way to deepen that stretch. And take that spot where you feel this stretch the deepest right now and take a deep inhale, maybe a nice sighing exhale. Let's bring that leg back up. Release your foot and hug both knees into our chest. And then once you're ready, let's make our way onto our hands and knees. So make sure you have both blocks handy if you've got them. And just move through a couple of cat-cows. So what we're doing is, that's a lot of work actually on our hips and creates some strain on our low back. So just finding some cat-cows or side-to-side movements in order to find some release in your hips and pelvis, low back. Just doing kind of whatever your body needs here. And then take your knees mat width apart and hands mat width apart. Do a couple cat-cows here, just with that wider stance. See how that changes things. Then walk knees back underneath your hips. I think we're going to start with our blocks today. We're going to set those blocks out in front of us. So if you don't have blocks, you can use the edge of a chair or couch as well. And looking for whatever height is going to work best for you. Some of you, it might be a nice tall height. We're going to put our elbows on these blocks and just let our head drop. Bring palms together. So we're getting this deeper stretch through triceps and finding some rotation in those shoulders. Play with what height is going to work good for you. If it feels too intense to be up high, too wobbly, even you can use mid-height. You can even take those palms that are close together or touching, and bring them back to touch your shoulders or spine, and then reach them forward, trying to touch the ground, back and forth, kind of just threading those shoulders. As you do that, make sure you're breathing. Then take those hands and just bring them out straight in front of you like you were in a child's pose. Palms can face down. Continue to just use the weight of those blocks. And let's come on up off of those blocks, set them aside. Sit back. Let's tuck our toes underneath us. Sit back on those heels. Again, great foot stretch for you, but also we're just being able to move your shoulders around here a little bit from that stretch. Kind of distracts you away from the deep stretch in your feet. You can even, if it's too much on your feet, just using one hand on the ground and moving one arm at a time. Great variation. And then eventually just maybe finding some stillness, a little bit more weight to stretch out those feet. And untucking toes, sitting back down just on your heels. So again, hands can be on the mat just as a variation so that it's not so harsh on your knees if you're feeling any crunching or pain there. But to look to stretch out the tops of our feet and our shins, and you can use blocks or just use the floor to bring those knees up off the ground. So you're here, just kind of stretching out those feet as much as possible. And then coming back to hands and knees. Let's take left foot, step it to the outside of both hands here. So we're in a low lunge. We're going to set up for a lizard pose. So again, you can grab a block and have it handy. Kind of put it to the inside of that left foot. So hands can be on the mat. They can be on the block or two blocks. Let's tuck in that left knee close to our left arm and left shoulder. Then walk that right knee back as far as you can so you're in as deep a lunge as possible. I'll show it from the side here. And then I want you to find a nice long spine. It's kind of pushing heart forward and belly forward. What my hope is that we start to find movement in this left hip socket. So a lot of time moving to lizard, when our hip starts to resist, we start to round shoulders right away. Instead, I want you to really try to touch chest and belly down to the floor or to your block. Even visualize that hip socket, like rotation happening as things start to resist and find tension. So it's not important how close we get to the ground. I want you to kind of keep that straight spine, even lengthen shoulders away from your ears. Kind of like the crown of your head is reaching towards the front of the room. And while you're here, you can drop that right or left knee out to the side. Roll to that outer edge of your foot. See if you can find any more movement in that hip. Checking in with that breath. All right, we're going to work on straightening that left leg now. Leave toes down on the mat. Both hands still to the inside of that leg. So again, take that block with you any bit. But work on that flat back again. So if you're here, and working hands down, noticing where that back and shoulders want to round. And once you're in a good spot, start to play with pulling those toes back towards you. Can you create a little bit more length in your spine and neck and out the crown of your head here? Then we're going to take small micro adjustments with this because our hamstrings are made up of 3 muscles. So we want to get into each of them. So if you're centered here, I want you to slide this left hip off to the side, push it out just a little bit. So now we're on that inner hamstring. And see what happens if you walk those hands out about 45 degrees. Coming into a down dog type pose here. And then walking hands back towards center, you're going to reach for the outside of that left leg again, on that floor. Again, blocks are sometimes your best friend here. Take them with you on the trip. Notice into that hamstring where it's kind of gripping. See if you can soften it without even coming out of that stretch any bit. See if you can release that muscle. All right, and then we're going to walk back into tabletop. Notice what those legs are doing. And use cat-cows or sway side to side. Release anything that's going on. And as you're ready, we're going to step that right foot forward. Again, leave that right knee stacked over your ankle and walk left knee back so that you're in a deeper lunge. Again, using that block in front of you here as a benefit. Your hands down on the mat. Look for that long spine. Hug that right knee in towards your arm. Nice. Again, looking to add that rotation in your hip socket. Let it slowly release, even if it's just a micro movement. Kind of visualize that joint. Picture it moving. And if you feel like you're collapsing kind of around that chest area, see about bringing your gaze up, kind of pushing that heart forward. Relax shoulders away from your ears and down your back. Keep breathing. And you can drop that knee out to the side too if that feels good. Really pay attention in your body as to what parts of your glutes or hips kind of holding on still. Try to find some release there. And let's bring that leg back up and straighten it. Toes down to the mat still. Bring both hands to the inside. And just working with that feeling of a flat back or long spine. Nice, easy breath. Now draw those toes back towards you. Keep breathing. Then push that right hip out to the right side a little bit. Shift which part of the leg you're feeling this in. And as you're ready, you can walk those hands over about 45 degrees. Taking any bit of a hinge. And walk those hands all the way back across, over to the outside of the right. Let's check in with that right knee, and if it's kind of clenching or gripping in that right knee, see if we can soften the kneecap. And let's make our way back into tabletop. All right, any last movements here? Through cat-cows again. Just walk our hands forward one time, leave our knees on the mat, but hips drop. So we're in a variation of up dog here. It's called seal. Let your belly release and hang heavy. Push really down through your arms so the ears lift away from shoulders. Push back into rock pose where your knees are just underneath you for child's. Take a deep inhale here, nice audible exhale. And making your way up, back to seated spot on your mat. All right, let's sit up nice and tall. Notice any tension in jaw or belly. Take a deep inhale, reach hands out and up overhead. Hands down to heart, head bows. Yes, thanks for joining me for today's stretchy class. I hope you feel a little bit longer, a little bit more flexible. And I hope that you kind of come back to any of those breathing techniques as you need them throughout your day and week. Namaste.